Hey guys, I'm Kim, and I'm on here to talk about my husband, Dr. Newt. So when I think about my husband Newt, I'm reminded of Clark Kent. Now, I don't know if you guys know Clark Kent, also known as Superman, was the one that would fly through the sky, and here I come to save the day. And the concept of Clark Kent highlights that the idea of great power comes great responsibility. Now, that was a cartoon for people who used to see a man who could promote positivity and care for people in the world or care for mankind. Now, no, Newt does not fly through the sky and save the day, but he fought through some brutal battles in his life, even helped me to raise 5 children, and supported me as I returned back to college, worked to build his own legacy or the legacy that God gave him, and was still a very present father to our children. And today is a very present pop-up to about 14 and one on the way grand. Now he knows all of them by their personalities too. He's still that man that wakes up in the morning with a big old smile and says some of the sweetest or funniest things that motivate me throughout the day. No, he is definitely not Clark Kent, but he is a Superman. Hey, I'm Kim.
And I'm Dr. New. And it's that time of year again.
For 28 Days of Love. And it's year 4, Newt.
How about that?
Year 4.
We got a lineup for you. We have some new things. This is called the Healthy Marriage Series.
Yes.
Going from the 3rd of February through the 28th of February. We have guest speakers. We have interviews with marriage couples. We have panel discussions, live panel discussions.
Yes, at our church, 260 Lafayette Street, every Thursday evening, and you can come and be a part of the studio audience.
Everything happens at 6:30 p.m. and we broadcast it live on our Facebook page, our 28 Days of Love Facebook page, and our YouTube channel, Launch 360 TV. Listen,
Yes.
You don't want to miss this one. We're celebrating, we're making big and making large the institution of marriage because covenant is real.
Yes, it is. And we have so many special guests starting out on Monday, so you don't want to miss it. Check out our lineup, and we can't wait to see you for 28 Days of Love.
There we are, Peter.
Hey,
Welcome in, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Welcome into
28
Days of Love.
Love.
Well, I am
Welcome
singing
in.
a little lower right now, so it's
Welcome
kind of
in.
hard for you to find.
Nah,
because
I just
my
get
little voice is doing.
I just get all tense when it comes time. It's not a choir. I need a choir.
28 Days of
I
Love.
need a director out here. Look, every night I drop the mouse.
It's time to let the mouse go.
Hey, put it over there.
Hi, everybody. Welcome tonight. Tonight, it's us. And it's day 4 of 28 Days of Love. And I hope you've enjoyed the first week thus far. Tomorrow is a big day.
Yeah.
We're so excited about the panel. But we're hoping that you've enjoyed
As long as it don't snow.
everything. And if it snows, the panel will be online,
Yeah.
But we really want that live panel. We want those singles to have an opportunity to share. So we're going to have that single panel regardless.
We do. So I see Paige Morales is with us
Hey,
today. Good to see you, Nikki Davis.
Nikki Davis. Oh, look, my girl is. Hey.
You got okay.
Look, she don't get on YouTube. She don't get on no Facebook. Thank you.
We got Victoria
Hi,
the Seals. How are
Lexi,
you
girl.
doing? I see. That's all I see. I don't know.
You done messed up. Well, I got
them
them.
all off.
So it's so good to see you
Let me
guys.
give y'all some hearts. Give y'all some hearts.
Yeah, give them some love.
Give you some hearts. There's some hearts for you. Hearts. You can these remember little heart candy, the cinnamon ones?
Mhm.
They bomb. I used to take a whole mouthful of them.
And
bad boys.
probably have red teeth too, right?
That's all right. That's all right. Breath can stink.
Well, there you go.
Mhm.
So, guys, so glad that you came back to join us. 28 Days of Love is so important as we believe in promoting healthy, strong marriages and family.
Yeah.
And you know, Newt and I started this journey 4 years ago, and we just went out on a limb and just trusted God to really promote. And the goal was not necessarily to see how many people would participate or watch, but if we could put something out there that would promote marriages, because we know the narrative out here is that you don't need this, you know, to not promote marriages or to create another form of marriage. And we just really believe in what the Word of God says.
Right.
So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Yeah.
She's looking at me. I guess I'm supposed to start, right?
Yachty, I'm putting it on him. Hey, Tracy girl.
I was trying to think about how we came up with this idea. I couldn't remember it today. I was like, it's just how did it start?
Yeah.
Out.
I think I remember.
You do? Okay. All right. So it must not be a good story.
No, it's a great story. I just remember, you know, you wanting to promote healthy marriages, and I came up with the idea for 28 days.
See, she came up with the idea.
That's why I didn't want to say it, because I didn't want him to think that I was trying to take all the credit. But yeah, no, really, Newt has been a fan of promoting marriages because we've seen so many things that promotes the opposite. And we believe in what God's word says. And so we're like, why is it that we as married people have to stand back?
Right.
And he's always said about, you know, healthy marriages make healthy children and healthy communities. And so it just continues on.
Give me some props now. Y'all hear that?
I'm giving you props because they're real. If there were no props to give, you know, I'm not going to give them. But no, because those are things that you've always said.
Oh, okay. Did I? I think I remember now. We were doing launches. And that's how, okay.
We were doing launches. We used to do every Saturday. Hi, Tess.
I'm still 3 steps behind her, y'all. She'd be moving fast.
No, I don't.
Yeah. She'd be like, hurry up. That's what Lisa
That's
said.
what Lisa said. Hurry up, sir. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed Lisa and David yesterday. They were so amazing. If you didn't, you can always go back and watch on our launch page with Kim and Dr. Newt, as well as Dr. K. If you didn't catch Dr. K, please catch her. Yes, go back to our launch page. Yes. You will see and hear those nuggets, especially if you are in need of that one-on-one counseling. Right. Dr. K's got it for you. Okay. Right. She's certified. Hey, Wub.
What's going on? What's going on?
All right. So we want to get started because time goes so fast when we get on here.
So I messed up your introduction. You had a super leeway into the whole piece, and I messed it up. I messed it all up.
You didn't mess it up, honey.
So let's just talk a little bit about the purpose for marriage. So you're going to get a lot of tidbits. You're going to get a lot of tricks, and I don't want to call them tricks. Advice. That's the word I'm thinking of.
Everybody's got
You're going to get a lot of advice throughout this month with all the lineup and the people that we have, and you're going to share a lot of that. So we thought, let's take a step back and let's talk about the why.
Why be married?
Why for marriage? Yes. You know, what is it all about?
And we want you guys to type in the chat tonight because, you know, we are very interactive people. We like to get your feedback.
My glasses
He's going to put his glasses on. Like my nephew said, your glasses. They're
not
no
clean.
dusty. But we want you all to type in the chat. My sister is good. She's fast at listen, them's fast hands.
Fast thumbs.
Fast thumbs. Yeah. What if you had to answer why marriage is important? Please type in why is marriage important? Why?
Why do you feel marriage is important?
Yeah.
So as you're doing that, I'm just going to just keep talking because there's a delay from where we are to where you are with Facebook. So if you don't know the purpose of a thing, then you are going to either abnormally use it or you're going to miss the use of it.
Yeah.
So if you don't know the purpose of a thing, it's going to be abused or misused.
Yeah.
There's a difference between abused and misused. So when you abuse a thing, you use it for the wrong purpose and it's damaging to that thing. When you misuse, or means you miss the use of that thing, then the purpose that is supposed to bring to you, the convenience or the productivity is supposed to give you, you miss it.
Yeah.
You don't get it.
Right.
So we have to understand the purpose of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we think it's important to understand the purpose of marriage.
I was reading in something from Dr. Miles Monroe before when he said, you know, you go out and you purchase maybe a TV with a remote control and you get mad because you can't figure out how to operate the remote control. And he's saying you look foolish being mad at the TV and the remote control when the whole time there were instructions and you never used the instructions to understand how to operate the TV and the remote control.
Right.
And that's the same thing the Newt is saying here. If you want to know what marriage is, the purpose of it, why it's beneficial, then you go to the rule book, as Kevin Ewing says. You go to the rule book, and the rule book is the Word of God. What does the Word of God say about marriages?
Yes. So let's just look at a couple of scriptures. We're going to go to Genesis, the first chapter.
Look, they're writing their responses.
Right, responses. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got.
Wubby says it's ministry. Victoria DeShill says because it's essential to God's plan. Tessa wrote the question. Wub says the original design, also the simple fact that God realized men should not be alone. Yeah, you guys are hitting on a lot of the points that definitely that we'll cover tonight.
Right.
But yeah, that men not be alone is a good thing. And Newt will explain a little bit further. Look, I'm putting a lot of work on you tonight because I'm kind of battling with this chest thing. So I'm going to do the best I can. Victoria also said commission, crucifixion, and covenant. Big
word, school word.
Come on, Victoria DeShields Miller.
She got school words.
That's why she's on the panel, because she's a panelist, honey.
So if we look at this purpose for marriage, the best place to look at, I believe, is in the beginning. So God first says some things in the beginning. It's called law first mention. Those things kind of follow through, for eternity. In Genesis, the first chapter, in that 26 through the 28th verse, around in that area, then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. And then what? Let them have dominion over all the fish of the sea, over the birds, over the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So he never gave us dominion over another man. Another man or woman. So we want to keep that in safe. So when we think about the purpose of marriage, if we read down a little further, then it says, I believe the 28th verse, it says, and then he blessed them. And he said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. So be fruitful, multiply, replenish, depending on what version you're reading, and subdue it and have dominion. And then it repeats it all over again. Right. So if we want to hear the purpose of marriage, first it said, let us make man in our image. Male and female made he them. Right. So he made male and female in his image. Right. So and in his likeness. So if we're in his image and his likeness, then the purpose of this first couple, this married couple that was joined together, make us man, make us them, was to bring glory.
There it is.
To God, to glory of God to all creation.
Yes.
He made us in his image and in his likeness. Who was he? He was God. So he was manifesting his glory in physical form here on earth. And that came through not just Adam alone. It came through Adam and Eve. Made he them, male and female. So the two of them together was the display of his glory in all creation. And then think about it. He's the Trinity, right? Three but one. Let us make man in our image. So we, again, in that same verse, marriage was the depiction of unity. It was demonstrating the unity of the kingdom. So here's some purposes in marriage that are bigger than some of the physical things that we come up with a lot. So what God has joined, let no man put asunder, right? So here's another reason. I want to give you. So in his likeness, first, to display his glory, to all creation. Second, to a demonstration of the unity of the kingdom. And the third one is to establish and build his kingdom.
Yes.
Establish and build his kingdom. So in verse 28, which we already read, it said, then God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it.
Mm-hmm.
He gave them a job.
That part.
He told them, listen,
work,
build this place.
Mm-hmm.
Be fruitful, multiply it, make it larger.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to keep it full and subdue it, rule over it, use it as a footstool to move. So he's telling us, build the kingdom.
Build the kingdom.
But he wasn't talking to just Adam or Eve.
That's good.
It was made he them. Mm-hmm. Let us make man in our image, made he them, male and female. So that unity together. Mm-hmm. So we're still talking about the whole time is marriage. Now the word marriage didn't come up till later in history. Yeah. Right. But right. This the concept of marriage. Here's the fourth reason. Mm-hmm. The fourth reason was companionship.
Yes.
You say, yeah, I know that. So I'm not just talking about that physical desire, the companionship. I'm not just talking about her ankles, right? I'm talking when he's talking about companionship. Go to Genesis, the second chapter, the 18th verse. Let me. I want to read it to make sure I say it right.
That's good.
It said, and the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone, all one. I will make him a helper comparable to him. Right. So this is, he doesn't want us to be alone. Why?
Or all one.
Or all one.
Explain that.
So all one. So when he made Adam, and there was no Eve.
Right.
And he thought about it. This is Newt. This is the NIV version, the Newt International version. Right? So he's looking and saying, listen, well, I want them to further the kingdom.
Right.
So I need them to multiply. So we're going to need two parts for that to happen. There's a job for them to do. To take care of this garden. Well, that's not just physical. It's going to be nurturing. It's going to be so I need another side of I need balance in this. I need harmony on this. So all one alone, all one is not enough. Two is better than one. So that companionship, what it was saying to us is, listen, I'm putting you together so that what you produce can be greater than what you would produce alone. I'm putting you together so that your outcomes are more productive.
Yeah, that's good.
So we have purpose for marriage is display his glory to all creation, to demonstrate the unity of kingdom, to establish and build his kingdom, and companionship. But companionship so that we can produce a better outcome. For example, Kim speaks into me and I speak into her. And what do we know? Faith cometh by hearing. So she's my faith builder. I'm her faith builder. We watch for each other. We prepare for each other. So that's what companionship means, not just the physical touch. And the fifth reason, final reason that we'll talk about today, we'll throw out is covenant.
Yeah. And many of you guys typed it in.
Yes. Marriage is covenant.
It definitely is covenant.
So let's just real briefly talk about covenant. Covenant is not just a legal agreement or some contract that you set up. So a lot of people view marriage as a contract.
Right.
We went got a marriage license.
A certificate.
Yeah, and we stood in front of the dude or the lady, and she said a few words. We kissed in front of everybody. We spent $10,000 on a reception, and that's our covenant. No. Yeah. That's a contract.
Right. That's what that is.
I can break a contract at any time I want. It might cost me a couple dollars, but I can break a contract at any time I want. Right. I can buy it out or whatever the case may be. But a covenant is different.
Right.
A covenant, if you look at Genesis, I think it's 2:23. 2:23, it says, what does it say? It says, and Adam said, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Adam realized that they had seemed together.
And just to add to that, that the Bible basically clears it up and shows us that the Lord presented her to Adam. So there was no marriage ceremony.
Right.
It was a presenting that this here is, this is she.
Yes.
You can even name her. This is it. I presented her. I made her and I presented her to him.
Right.
I presented the union to him. Here it is. Here it is.
And she was called Whoa Man.
Whoa Man.
He woke up, saw her, he was like, whoa, man. What we got here? No. Whoa, man with a womb.
Man with a womb.
And we could talk about the womb and stuff later as the nurturer. But this is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. And then if you go down to the 24th verse, so that talks about the seeming together. You go down to the 24th verse, what did it say? And they were and therefore man shall do what? Leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Just side note, it never says she left her mother and father.
Catch that.
Right. Never said that.
Extremely important.
Never said that. There's a couple of reasons for that. One of the reasons is because that's what you become. You got.
And also you may still need your mother for as the woman. You may still need that training to learn and understand how to be, how to do things. And then back in that time, women relied, they actually worked together. A lot of them worked together. So if you're looking at stories in the Bible, there were people who were still part of families. They still stayed together, but the husband didn't. He went to her family.
Right.
And so that's why it didn't say she leaves. It leaves. He left.
So if we're looking at the he left, mother and father, who are mother and father to you? They are your source, your Abba for your bloodline.
Right.
So when we talk about covenants, the original covenants, when we talk about covenants, they were sealed by blood. They were it was more than just something that was written or agreement to say. It was more than a shake. It was a becoming one of the life force of blood. So when he left his bloodline, where he came from, and he cleaved with his wife, they now created a new line, a new covenant, a new mixing of blood.
Yes. And for those of you who may not know the story, I think we might have talked about it years ago, where the man would actually pay whatever he paid. He have his bride after the marriage. The people in the village would wait along the outside of the village, waiting for him to become intimate with her so that he can show the blood on the sheet saying that basically this has been established, or that she waited for him. So this bloodline thing is serious. We're not going to get into it tonight, but that is something that happened. He would use that sheet and hold it up, and the people in the village would wait to see it to make sure that this has been established there.
Right. So for tonight, for purposes of the law first mentioned, that covenant is greater than just a contract or an agreement.
Definitely.
It is a leaving of the life force or the blood that had established you. And it is now cleaving to your wife to create a new one.
A new bloodline. Yeah. A new covenant.
That's why divorce is so.
That's why it's difficult.
Yes. God didn't like it too much. So I'll give you the 5 again, and then we're going to move on. The 5 again. The purpose for marriage is display his glory to all creation, right? To demonstrate the unity of the kingdom, to establish and build his kingdom, be fruitful, multiply, companionship, not good for one to be alone, 2 are better than one, we can get a better outcome together. And the 5th one is covenant. It's not just a contract. It is a mixing, a creating of a new bloodline. So those are the 5 purposes for marriage.
Yeah.
I thought you.
So let's talk a little. Yeah, I was trying to type what you said. New mixing of bloodline. I want to make sure I put it in. The next thing then is who's a candidate for marriage? who are good candidates for marriage. And some people think just because they want to be married, that they're a candidate for marriage. But I think it's a little bit deeper, and understanding whether or not you're a candidate for marriage. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be married, but it means we need to change our mindset.
Yes.
Because a candidate for marriage has to be a person who is self-sufficient, who's content within themselves, that if they do not get married, they are okay with themselves. And when you start, when you stop worrying about, my time is ticking and I don't know if I'm going to ever get married. If you stop worrying about that, and you worry about your vertical covenant with the Father, your marriage this way, then you are a candidate for marriage. If you focus more on this and not the horizontal one, you are a candidate for marriage.
So to be quite frank, if you're focusing more on the horizontal one, then you're probably attracting individuals for the wrong reason. I'm either attracting you because of my career or potential to make dollars, or I'm good with kids, or you're attracting me because of your ankles, or whatever the case may be. But if that's your focus, your law of magnetism, that's what you'll attract. And I'm guaranteeing you that those things are going to change. They're going to change. Tomorrow, something can happen to income, or physical appearance, or whatever the case may be. So it's important for you to understand that a candidate for marriage is not about, how long your lashes can be,
right?
Or whether you have the newest watch,
right?
Those things are nice, but they don't make marriages.
No. They
can break them, though.
The other thing you want to be very careful with, if you're looking to be married, or if you're about to be married or whatever, if in fact that person is relying on you for everything, everything, they can't stand on their own 2 feet. They don't know what to do without you. They're just totally crumbled. If you're not, those people are not ready for marriage.
That's good. That's good.
They haven't established that contentment inside. That relationship this way isn't focused, isn't set, isn't content, isn't established. We're focusing more outward or hanging and clinging constantly. You'll get that opportunity once the marriage happens, but you don't want to get, matter of fact, Newt used to say it all the time. Kim did not need me and he did not need me. That's what we're talking about. If Newt would have never came, I would have been okay with me and my Savior. That would have been just fine until the Lord did whatever he was going to do. Right. That's what makes you a good candidate for marriage.
And that's in our reality, to someone who's productive,
Michelle,
that's attractive.
That's attractive.
That is attractive. So, and I know we're kind of veering off a little bit here, but it always worries me or concerns me when I meet people or see people, female or male, and they're always talking about their problem, their issue, that last relationship. And what happens now is they're talking about their needs and their woe is me. And you got another person who has that same woe is me need. So now you got the two woe is me needed people.
Now you got whoa
who've attracted each other. Law of magnetism. They've attracted each other. Now you got two, like Kim said, you got woe squared in the same place, now with the same needs, drawing that same woe out of each other. And it just keeps getting larger and larger and larger.
Magnifies.
There's no end to it, until deliverance, somebody speaks into it, or some type of catastrophe happens. So it's very, very important that as a candidate for marriage, that you, and I'm going to say this to men, let me come in the back door. So the first thing God gave us,
this is good,
was presence. He gave us presence. He put us in the garden, in Eden, in his presence. The second thing he did after he put us in presence is he gave us identity. He made us in his image and in his likeness. After that, He told them, till the garden, take care of the land. Gave us a job, a work to do. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue. He gave that to us, right? And he gave Adam Eve. So you got to read the second chapter of Genesis.
Say them again,
second through the fourth. So the first thing he gave us was presence. Put us in the garden. Next thing he gave was identity. Made us in his image and likeness. And then he said, listen, take care of this garden, name everything, do all the stuff you got to do. Not good to be alone. Then he gave us Eve. Presence, identity, work, companionship. In that order. So what does that mean? As men.
This is so good.
I'm telling men this, but women, you need to hear this too.
Be aware of this.
A man should not get a woman until he's doing his work.
Not his job.
Not his job. His work, what he's been commanded to, assigned to do, formed to do. If he's not operating in that in some way,
in purpose,
and he's not fully baked, he's not mature,
he's not a candidate.
He has no mission, so there's nothing for you to be submissive to. Marriage is not on his plate yet.
Yeah.
And you can't get him there.
No.
That is not your job. You're not equipped to do that. I'm trying to look right in the camera and say it to you. That's presence, identity, who I am, what I am, why I'm here. And here's what I want you to do with it. Work.
Work.
Now here's someone to help you.
Scripture, work. I must work the work of him that sent me while it is day. For night comes when no man can work. That word work has nothing to do with the job. It has everything to do with your purpose and what God called you to. And if he is not walking in his purpose, then he is not ready for you.
On some level.
On some, look what it, after he gave him work, then he gave him Eve. So if he's not at some point, some way, some shape, some form, doing the work that God called him to do. I mean, he may not be at the end of it. He may be at the beginning, and we don't despise small beginnings.
But he knows what it is.
But he knows what it is.
And he's committed and devoted to it. He's moving toward it.
Yes.
If he's not, then he has nothing for you to do.
Yeah.
He has nothing for you to do. Stay home with mom and dad.
Until he's ready.
He's not able to leave because he doesn't have a strength. He doesn't have direction. His purpose is not fit. So he's haphazard. A man has to have work. I don't want to divert the conversation.
It's good,
but a man has to have work. If we are not operating in our work, we are unfulfilled. And if we are unfulfilled, then we are dangerous to you.
Yeah.
Because that unfulfillment is going to come out on whatever's closest to us, whatever we see is weaker than us, depending on the individual, self-medication,
some kind of abuse,
promiscuous, some kind of misabuse or abuse of something or someone. If we are not operating our work, we are unfulfilled. We are haphazard.
And many of you, I'm sure you know this, you might have seen them start the bottle where they out all the time drinking, or they're cheating, or they're verbally disrespectful to you. And it's really because they are unfulfilled.
It sucks.
And so I'm not saying that they're trying to harm you on purpose. The problem is that they have not figured out what it is that they're supposed to do.
Right.
So instead of being angry with them, let them figure it out.
So if you haven't gotten married yet and you see that in the young man, don't put yourself in that line of fire.
Don't do it.
The wisdom is yelling out in the street. Don't do it. Hold up. Wait a minute. And
give him the opportunity to grow.
And he might look good and all that stuff. And you might have known each other for all these years. But if he's not it, he's not it. You've dodged the bullet.
Yeah.
And I don't say that. I don't mean to sound harsh.
I love that, Mike. Mike Capo. When men are unfulfilled, they become insecure.
Exactly.
That's it, Mike.
Exactly.
That's it.
So we have to have work. It is the order.
Purpose.
It's we read it to you. It's in there. He put us in the garden, gave us identity in the garden, told us to take care of the garden, work. Then Eve came. In that order.
Yes.
God's intentional, right? Right? Exactly. So that's the order.
Yes.
That's the order. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, that's good. I mean, I know we kind of veered off a bit, but this is good because honestly, in order to make sure that the right candidates, people who are ready for marriage, you need to understand what this looks like. And for women, the exact same thing that I said. And so let me just not, let me make sure I say this, that people are born with that in them already to be a husband or wife. But until they understand who they are or what God has called them to, then they're not ready. And women, the same thing for you. If all of your hopes are on what he's going to do for you, then you aren't ready either. Because insecurity happens not just on men, but even on women. And then you'll be looking at everyone he talks to, looks at, mentions, and you will think that he is choosing them over you. So insecurity will be there with you. You're wondering, what's he doing at work? What's he saying? Who's he looking at? Checking his phone. This was what will happen when you are not secure. And sometimes that happens because we were in past relationships. We bring it into this next one. Yeah. So if you're not make sure, I think Dr. K talked about it. Go on a journey of healing. Deal with those things first. Save yourself from a lot of heartache and pain.
At the very least, to piggybacking off of Kim, at the very least, and I'm going to use our story, my story. So this is our second marriage. My first marriage didn't work out so well. There was some infidelity in that marriage. It wasn't on my part, right? So there's some hurt, there's some scar that comes from that when that takes care.
I'm saying right like I know
that happened. Well, you do. I told you.
I'm saying right. But
so when Kim and when I'm realizing, this could be something, I never did a healing journey. I didn't do a healing journey yet. So at the very least, know how to see those things in that person.
Absolutely.
So I was listening and talking, asking Kim questions on purpose.
Yes.
Watching and seeing what her character was. Because if her character was such that she cared about herself so much that she wouldn't put herself in one of those situations, I could trust that.
Right.
Because I had come from a painful thing. So I hadn't done a healing journey yet, which Dr. saying we need to do that. And maybe I should have done that first, right? And we could have avoided some other problems that we had. But at the very least, be honest and throw out the litmus test. Throw out the, check the character.
Yeah, he did. He asked me a lot of questions, and I asked him a lot of questions. He wanted to know about my hopes, my dreams, my aspirations. He wanted to know if I wanted more children. He asked me a bunch of questions, and I was asking him too. And I watched his body language. I watched to see when I asked him stuff, how he moved. I watched his eyes. I paid a lot of attention because I had just come out. Yeah, I had just come out of a heartbreaking 16-year marriage. And so I paid close attention because I had just come out of that mess. So I was watching to see how he moved. If his eyes went to the left, I was like, okay, he lied. So those are things that I learned that stuff just to see body language. But when I saw,
I'm left-handed.
Yeah, he's left-handed. But I know. But I mean, those were things I paid attention. I looked at him and I answered those questions straight up because the way I felt about it at that time was it didn't matter.
Yeah, don't need it.
We don't need each other.
And I was in the same space.
He was in the same space because I'm good. I had my job. I had my home. I had my children. I was good. He was good.
I was starting over.
Right. So it was, we were good. So we didn't need each other. So I want to say this because sometimes women, we look at ourselves so low that we don't realize our value. Yeah. And that can happen from things that happened, traumatic things that happened in our past. But here's what I want to say. My sister, who I love, Michelle, she mentioned she wished she would have heard this 20 years ago. But I say, Michelle, this is the right time. And let me tell you why. Because maybe 20 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to receive it.
Yeah.
And so today is the perfect time. That means God has planned for you of what's to come. So I want to say this, had someone have been talking to me years ago, I don't know if I would have been able to receive it, because in my mind, I had this picket fence with a husband and three children.
We didn't.
No, I'm talking about before I met you.
Okay.
And so this is my mindset. I thought that I had it all laid out, and I didn't. So when I met Newt, now this is what we are. We're doing conversation, and we are asking questions and answering them honestly. And that's how we were okay.
But even in that, I still didn't want to hear what anyone else had. I'm just saying this for your benefits, because her grandfather came to us.
He did, Poppy.
And he said, it's too soon.
He did.
You know,
he did.
And I got my butt on my shoulders. You know, I don't remember what I said, but I know I felt a certain way. I might not have said anything, but
he said, just wait a while.
Yeah,
he was right. We should have waited a while.
He was right.
Maybe we could have avoided some of the heartache we had.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to lead into the next part. That even after the marriage, there's work.
Yes.
So if you work on yourself before the marriage, you cut down some of the hard work that you have during the marriage.
Right.
So Newt and I have spent, I guess the past 10, 12 years, just giving people information, truth, making it very raw, no matter how we look, because we are solid here. But we make it very, very raw to let you know there's work before. But if you marry, the work after, just get ready. It's going to be some work, but it does not stop. And even if you do the work before, there's still work after.
Yeah. So we read it to you today. Leave and cleaves to his wife, and they become. That is the work. A present perfect tense word which doesn't stop.
Yes.
They become. So it's ever evolving.
Yes.
Ever evolving. So I say this a lot. I know it sounds cliche, but there's more about Kim that I learned more about her the longer we're together.
Yes. And me too.
Know? And on top of that, we're still developing as human beings.
Yes.
So the Newt that Kim married even 10 years ago is not the Newt that I am today. You know, physically, mentally, spiritually, academically, financially, I'm a different dude.
Yeah.
I'm continuing to evolve, because when you stop learning, you start dying.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm continuing to evolve. So there's always hopefully a surprise in the package.
Right.
You know,
and that's the beauty of it.
Yes, and that's the beauty of marriage. That's how you have to look at it. Every day is like an adventure. You know, well, let's do this. We never did it.
Or something new, you know, or like, oh, I never even knew that about you, or I didn't know that about you.
Right.
So, there's so many things that we can say, but we want to move on because you guys know that we wrote a book. We wrote a book and then we redid it years ago. And we try to give this to couples, people who are considering marriage, or people who are already married, or people who are just like, I just want to learn a little bit about marriage. And there's an activity book, a workbook that we have with an activity in it. And we want to just talk about that. Once you've decided to marry, once you are married, you know, the work that we said continues. So, yeah, and it's a shameless plug today, because honestly, I feel like this here thing is so valuable that once you are married, I don't know how many of you have grew up with things that were said about you, words that were said about you, that you're bossy, or you're controlling, or you're this, you know, or anything like that. And you've heard those words, because as a little girl, I was placed in the position of being in charge of my mom's kids.
Right.
And so I was bossy. I am a little bossy girl, because those were things that I was taught to do. I was left responsible, whether or not I was ready for that responsibility or not. So what happens is, when you don't understand what it means, you abuse or misuse it. So those are things that happened as a child for me. So when I grew up, people started to say, she's this, she's that. From a child up, these are words that were said about me, that I was selfish, and I was like, I'm definitely not selfish, but these were words that were said about me. So what happens when you get married and you come into this relationship with these words? What is it that my husband can do? How can he help me to walk out of this, walk out of those previous words? What can he do? Now, Miles Monroe talks about when you marry someone, and I'm just going to paraphrase. He said, when you marry someone, you are not, you won't end up with that person pretty much you've married. What's going to happen, because your soil, she's going to grow in you. And because I'm soil, he'll grow in me. So what will evolve eventually is this beautiful thing that grows. And so Newt and I are soil for each other. Now, how is it that Newt can help me walk out of those words, those negative words that I've heard all my life about myself? It would be so that he would be able to identify what the negative word is and flip it. And so that's what we've created in our workbook.
Right.
He's still typing.
I was trying to type the link to the book.
We can do that then.
And I don't know if I'm just going to post it.
Okay.
Maybe I did it right. Maybe I didn't. So it's in the chat. So this book, it's a 10-chapter book. And for each chapter, we have activities. So there's a written book. We suggest you get the book and read the book, but get the workbook as well. So the workbook is meant for you to do separately. It's meant for Kim to do activity 1, me to do activity 1 separately. And then we come together and we compare what it is that we have. So we want to go through activity 5 with you today. And it is in chapter 7 and 8. And Kim kind of laid it out. So basically it's a chart. And we call it the gift in my bag. The gift in my bag.
Yeah, I love it.
So Kim said it, a lot of times we have traits that were looked at as negative, and we caught flack for that,
right?
All our lives. So we've accepted that this trait we have is negative. Well, God made us with that trait. So if the trait that we made, you're saying God made a negative thing in me? No. Well, maybe I'm just not using it correctly.
There's that mindset change.
Yeah, maybe there's something more to it. Maybe I don't have it in the correct arena. Maybe because of the people I've been around in the arena that I've had to operate in, this gift or this trait doesn't match. I've been using it as a defense mechanism there, or a wall or something, and that wasn't the purpose for that trait. I haven't taken the time to develop it and use it and put it in the right place. That's what your spouse does for you.
That's that part.
So
when he's ready, for his work.
So, for instance, it's kind of hard for you to see, so I'll just say it. I'll talk it. So it's a chart, and this chart has 4 columns on it, and you can actually make it yourself. So I'm giving this to you for free, but please buy the workbook, right?
It's easier.
So, the first column is the personality traits. You want to list something that has been,
listed as a character issue.
Yes. So Kim used the one bossy. That's actually the example we have in there. So you've been called bossy. Bossy, pushy, whatever, loud. They always gotta be seen, gotta be heard, whatever it is, right? So that is a trait that you've been labeled with, and you've accepted it as negative, right? So what's the behaviors, that come with that trait? Well, they called you bossy. Well, maybe the behavior is, and you need to write that down. The behavior is, I'm controlling.
So that's what they said.
Yeah, that's what they said. I try to control everything and make it go my way.
Right.
So that's the behavior. You write that down in column 2. And then in column 3, you want to have a shift to a positive perspective.
That part. So
you're taking that personality trait that's been looked at as negative. You want to shift that now to a positive perspective. So that's where you have to sit and introspect. So how can I take bossy and controlling everything and make that positive? So I might need to talk with Kim.
Right. So can I just interrupt here? One of the things that Newt did is Newt started to see the leader in me. He started to say, you know what, you might not know it or not, Kim, but you're this, principal and stuff like that. But he could see the leadership where I could only see the bad things about myself. So as my husband, he then could say, it's not that it's this. What it is it's this. And they probably didn't know how to handle it. So he could see the good things in me where I could only hear what was being said about me,
So that bossiness as a trait, the action of controlling, having everything your way, the shift to the positive perspective, that's a leadership quality. You're a leader. You just don't know how to lead.
That part.
You have a tendency, a desire to influence and impact things. That's why you're so you want to see it happen.
Passionate.
Yeah, that passion you have, you want to see it happen by what you see, the direction, the vision you see. That's a leader. A leader does that, right? But you don't know how.
Don't know how to lead.
It's coming out wrong. Like I said, maybe you've been in the wrong environment,
right?
Where you've had to use that to stay safe or to keep people away from you or whatever the case may be. So now you're in this safe place,
right? In
this covenant, in this nook of safety where we're on the same team, where we're blending together. And look what I can do. I can help you say, so what new actions are you going to do?
Right.
That aren't those behaviors.
Old behaviors.
What new things can you do now so you're operating as a leader and not just somebody who's bossy? So you can say, okay, well, I'm confident and I'm organized.
Right.
So when I'm approaching a task, I lay it out. I put it in steps because I'm confident and I'm organized. And I usually know exactly what I need to ask from others to do in order to help accomplish that task. So that's what I do. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a leader and I'm not going to be bossy. So we have that activity in here. So we just pick one.
Right.
You can do several personality traits with one another.
We called them that because there were so many, over the years, just talking to people, there were so many negative things that were said about people growing up. You, me. I mean, if we start naming them, my goodness, I'm sure you could probably put a bunch in the chat of things that were said about you, but perhaps you just did not know who you were. And so there is where the work came in for Newt after the marriage. So we talked about in the beginning, what is marriage? What's the benefits? Why is marriage important? What did God intend from the very beginning? Am I a candidate to be married? What things do I need to have? How should I walk? What does this look like? And then once I am married, how is there still work afterwards? Yes. The things that I see about me that may not be so good. My husband, who now loves me, who is in covenant with me, is doing his work, fulfilling his purpose, even in me, and me doing the same for him. So, excuse me, I just believe that once we have information,
yes,
then people grow and they don't sink. Because if I can just say this, I always saw myself in the basement. I always saw myself beneath everyone else. And I always saw myself as not as important. Everybody else was on the next floor. I was in the basement. And in my mindset, I would never be good enough. But it just seemed like God had something else planned and intended for me, because I was okay with just being here, even though it was in the basement. The Lord then pulled me out of that situation and taught me who I was in him. That's why I was content. That's why I was a candidate for marriage. And that's why I was able to walk in this relationship and knew as my spouse. Now I'm using him. He hasn't talked about me doing it yet because I'm doing lots of talking, but he was able to do the work that God had given him to show me good things about myself. So then I could physically come out of that basement well, not physically, but spiritually come out of that basement and see who I was, I don't know.
So one of the things you have to understand, feelings about yourself, and I'm kind of shifting a little bit. If you have low self-esteem, low self-image, your psyche about yourself has been damaged, or traumatic situations have occurred, abuse, neglect, rejection, things of that sort. Those scars are in you, and your development stops when those things happened. So if that happened to you as a little boy, little girl, then developmentally, a portion of you is still there, right? So what you've learned to do over years is to compensate
That's part.
for that deficiency or for that issue so that you're not seen.
Right.
That's not how people see you, even though that's what you think and feel about yourself. You've done very good at projecting so people see others. So when I teach teachers about dealing with potential students are very good at putting a wall up.
Yeah.
We could put a wall up and bring it down at will. So that, and the wall is like a one-sided mirror.
Yeah.
I can see you, but you can't see me. The only thing you can see is what I want you to see of me. So you really don't know what's going on in me. And that's my survival skill.
Right.
That's how I survive. And I'm talking about college. I'm a college professor in this college environment because I'm not from there.
Right.
I'm from the, from around the way. And that's not how they act. So I got to survive here. I can't let you really see me. So we do the same thing in our relationships. So Kim talked about how she felt about herself, but no one would believe her if they knew her because she did a very good job at projecting what she wanted you to see so she could stay safe.
Yes.
So those are the things we got to break down in our marriage relationships. And I have to trust you at some point and let you pull down the glass wall and let you see me.
Right.
So you can speak into me.
Right.
And you can tell me those things that I thought were bad. They called me bad little Newt.
Yeah, here we go.
Growing up. They called me bad little Newt in the community where I grew up. All the adults, every single adult. And I'm not lying. Kim knows.
I showed up. Me and Newt went somewhere. Years later, he's grown. We've been married many years. Yeah. And all they kept saying was, oh, that was bad little Newt. You married bad little. And
I was 50-something
years. And I said to him, why are these people still today?
Bad little Newt, that's what they called me. So my behaviors that went along with that, I was inquisitive. I would get into things. I was like Dennis the Menace. I would want to see how it works. I'll take it apart. I'll say, so those were the things that were my behaviors. But somewhere along the line, a gentleman, and his name escapes me. I'm looking right at him right now. A program I went to, Prime. He began to tell me, you did those things because you're an engineer. You want to see how everything works. You want to take it apart. You want to understand it. And when someone doesn't do that, you don't respect them. Now you got to work on that. So he began to tell me why he saw the things I was doing. I wasn't bad in his. I wanted to know. Right. And then it was okay. So we need to get some training so you can operate in that vein. Engineers don't live in that place where you are. Engineers don't play on those fields. They play over here. Right. So I'm using that as an example. Yeah. Later in life, Kim, some same things, inside me, spoke into some things in me that I couldn't see about myself. I remember her grabbing my face a couple times. And telling me you are such and such. So that was the activity we gave you today. I'm rambling now, but that was the activity. If you want to grab the book, it's activity number 5. Or if you didn't really catch it, inbox me. I'll explain it to you again. But you want to take those negative things that have been coined as negative in your life.
Call them out.
You want to then identify the behaviors that you do or that people see that define it as a negative trait. Right. Then you want to take that and you want to flip the script. You want to do what's called a cognitive shift. This is the image. This is the image and likeness of God that's in you. You can take a thing and name it what it is. Who was it? Oh man, and I can't think of the father who had the son, who had the mother had the baby that died. She died in childbirth. Yes. And they named the son something, son of my sorrows. Yes. Benjamin. Yes. And he said, no. The father came in and said, I don't care what they named him. His name's going to be, and named him something different that meant something positive. That's who you are. You're the father. You're in his image. And it's like this right now. You can rename the things in you. Yes. You and work with your wife, your husband to rename those things in you. So now it's a positive trait. Right. And then you list the things that you're going to do with that positive trait.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't negative from the beginning.
Yeah,
it was
just didn't understand it.
It was misplaced,
misused,
and abnormally used.
Mm-hmm. So we hit a whole lot today. We wanted to talk about marriage. We wanted to go in and talk about candidates. And we wanted you to know that after you get married, the work doesn't stop. There are things that we have to do to make sure that we are healthy. This is the Healthy Married series. And so sometimes those healthy things don't always feel good when you're talking about them, but they are good when you address them. So we wanted to make sure we talked about that tonight. I know you got something. I believe that today the Lord showed you some things that you want to work on, or that you know you need to work on, or things that you should consider. Go ahead and consider them, even if they feel a little uncomfortable. It's going to be good for you later.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw up a couple of comments. Is that all right?
Yes.
Victoria says, I had to read it from here. So I have my glasses on.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't embrace those things in you, of you rising to the surface and prepare for them, then they're going to arise anyway.
Yes, they will.
It's going to test your commitment to inward renewal of your mind, spiritually and physically.
Absolutely.
And if it's testing you, it's testing your husband, it's testing your wife. But they are oftentimes your way out.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes your way out. I don't know. You see any more that you wanted to?
No. Just something that Newt said before we go. Newt had said that. Oh man, I forgot just that quick. See, that's what happens when you turn 60. Oh, I can't remember. You said something. Yeah, maybe tomorrow. I'll remember tomorrow.
Okay. Well, listen. I don't know how to kind of end this. Except to just kind of end it. Thank you for logging on with us, hanging on with us. Tomorrow night, we are supposed to have a singles panel live at Generations Worship Center. It is at 260 Lafayette Street here in York, Pennsylvania. But I believe there's a snow forecast. So we don't know what's going to happen. So we'll keep posting throughout the day. If you can come out live to that what's it called, panel, and if we don't have
It'll be a live studio audience,
if we don't have it live, we're going to have it anyway. We'll just have it online. We'll just have the little Brady Bunch panels up on the screen. But either way, thank you for logging in, hanging in, jumping in with us for 28 Days of Love. Hopefully you grab some things that will keep you pushing till next. If you have any questions for us, feel free to inbox us or go ahead and
put post in the chat. We'll answer them.
Yeah, especially if you're on the 28 Days of Love page. Post them in the chat. That'll be valuable for others. Other than that,
that's it.
I'm good to go. Listen, make it a great evening. Get some rest.
Love you guys.
And we love you.
See you here tomorrow.
I need to make sure I have an overlay here. I'm going to put Airstrike on. All right, we love you guys.
Bye, Trina.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Hey guys, I'm Kim.
Hey, we are back.
Hey, I'm Kim.
And I'm Dr. Newt. And it's that time of year again
For 28 Days of Love. And it's year.
Hey, we are back.
And it's day 4 of 28 Days of Love. Jeez.
I'm Kim.
Dr. Newt.
Well, we've been talking about marriage, and you guys have heard so many powerful people sharing their life and some of the things that they went through in their marriage, how to make it healthy. And since we're talking about healthy marriages, we're going to continue.
Guess who's on deck tonight?
It's us.
That's right.
It's Kim and
Dr. Newt.
So we hope you join us tonight. Make sure you share it with your friends. Right, 6:30 tonight. If they're looking to be married, if they are married and having a difficult time, if they don't understand the value of marriage, please invite them tonight. If you would like to be married, but you want to know a little bit more about what this thing is about, please join us tonight because we're going to talk about all of those things.
I think we're going to come from a little different angle than we usually come from. So I'm excited about the night and can't wait to see you there.
All right. We'll see you tonight at 6:30 on Facebook Live for
28 Days of Love.
Thanks, Newt. See you tonight.
Life is worth the living, and it's time for your new beginning. You must propel to where he's calling you. Don't despise small beginnings. Trust in God and you're always winning. It's time for you to launch to the place you're destined to. Come on and launch, 'cause it's time to launch. Welcome to Launch with Kim and Dr. Newt. Come on and launch, 'cause it's time to launch. Welcome to Launch with Kim and Dr. Newt.